So apparently in the UK something happened, and I kind of want to review it because you know me, I'm always open-minded. I'm the open-minded one. I've heard that now history books in the UK are stating that Stonehenge was built by black people. Now, how about we review this statement? If the evidence is real, I have nothing against it. But because it comes from the UK, with all due respect to anyone in England right now, I don't know if this is a political move. So you know me. People have asked me about this. I've reviewed recently, in fact I would like to show you this. I have recently reviewed Carthaginians Black Metatron. I recently made a answer video, this one here. And as you see, it's not my first rodeo when it comes to these things, which is why sometimes people tell me, oh, Metatron, you're fixated with race. And the reality is, no, I'm not the one fixated with race. Other people are the ones fixated with race. And I'm the one who gets asked, since you know that I love classical period and antiquity and the medieval period in Japan and all of that. People ask me, hey, what do you think about this? Is it true? Because this channel here, Home Team History, stated, it's not the only one of course, it's just that at least this channel was decent. There are other channels like Mr. Imhotep, which is a complete utter nonsense channel. If you have a problem with that, Mr. Imhotep, bring it on, because I will say what I think. And so he of course pushes all of that stuff, but he does it for reasons that are not. Yeah, but this channel here instead, Home Team History, is a channel run by an African-American gentleman who presents these ideas, but he does it in a way that I actually enjoy. So this response that I produced, I think he was the presentation was wrong, but I'm not combative, because the way he presented it was in fact very logical. I liked the way he presented it, but yet I think he made some major mistakes when it comes to translations from ancient Greek, when it comes to translations from Latin, and when it comes in general to the understanding of the way we know ethnicities work, specifically in the area of the Levant, due to the movement of people in the Bronze Age, particularly in the Iron Age and in classical antiquity, the looks of Northern Africa. And so the question was Carthage a black civilization? The answer from this channel was mostly yes, although he did say that at the very beginning maybe no, the Semitic implement, but then he said yes, they were black, and then I responded to that. So this is not the first time they address these topics. Same with Hannibal Barca. There is no reason, and this doesn't come from a place of hatred, you know me, it's from a place of wanting to know the truth, because as you will see if I show you, and this is me trolling, you know that I can be a professional troll, as I say on my X account. I hate saying that because it sounds like it's not my account anymore. As I say on my account on X, I am a truth supremacist, I'm truth-centric, and I'm a lifephobe. How about that? This is me trolling, of course, because people accuse me of being a white supremacist, they accuse me of being Eurocentric, and they accuse me of being a phobe. I do this to troll them and regain control over what I say I am. Okay, so initially that's all I said, just a messenger with a reference for people. I think everyone can see the reference here. Name of the channel Metatron. Obviously messenger comes from angeloi in Greek, ancient Greek, which comes from malachim in the Bible, which is what we translate as angels, which means messengers. So this is the, yeah, but now I added this, truth supremacist, truth-centric, lifephobe, boom. And I know that I saw someone leaving a comment and be like, oh, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that. And I'm like, that's fine, whatever you want. But I don't care. If people can accuse me of being stuff that is absolutely atrocious and they don't get any backlash, then I'm going to take control of this. And I'm going to say, okay, then I consider myself to be a truth supremacist, which means when I see a statement like this, I will debunk it if is incorrect. And I did the same with this. Now, I do encourage you, don't believe me. Use your own critical thinking. Okay, so I am the channel that says there's no way Hannibal Barca was black. This is what I said. I say the same with Cleopatra, given our current data. If you present new evidence, I might change my mind. I'll be the first one to make a video and say, guys, we were all wrong. Cleopatra was black and this guy, Hannibal Barca, was black. But at the moment, I've looked into this very deeply with my full team before I made this video, and it's nonsense. It is absolute nonsense. Hannibal was not black. Now, given some people will tell me, why do you care? Why does it matter? But you are the one who's making the statement. I'm the one responding. So you cannot use the argument, it's a logical fallacy, to make a categorical statement, Hannibal Barca was black, and then someone responds and says, look, I looked into this. There are coins. We know where they were coming from. We know his heritage. So I'm just telling you, you made the statement, You made it a point that much. There are many other things. I'm interested in the weapons you use, in the armor, in the battle tactics. It's there, but I don't think it's the first thing I would say about Hannibal Barca, because you make it a situation of, oh, he was black, then I'm going to respond, because people are going to ask. And when I respond, you cannot say, why does it matter? Why do you care? Sorry, you lost that privilege in the very moment that you presented this as a major item of discussion. Now, I want to ask you for a specific challenge right now before we jump into addressing the situation that we just said with the Stone Age. Here's what I'm telling you to do. In your own time, check out my video. Netflix did it again. Was Hannibal Barca black? It's a 23 minutes and 39 seconds presentation. I give you all the coins, I give you the Latin, I give you the sources, I give everything, all the points of reference. It's a very deep analysis. And then confront it with this. You go watch this video, The Maid Who Made Rome Tremble, 5 minutes and 57 of, you don't have to believe me, but if you don't want to watch it, I'll tell you, big music, this nonsensical coin that it doesn't have anything to do with Hannibal Barca. So big music, I will reveal now that white supremacy blocked this, but here is what it would have looked like. 3D picture, Hannibal Barca's black, you gotta believe it. If you don't like it, you're Eurocentric, end of the story. This is his quality of presentation. Some of the things I stated are implied, but others are clear as day. And then compare it with my video presentation, which I'm not saying that, oh, I'm so good. No, thanks to my team. Thanks to Dr. Canestrelli, who presented me all of the Etruscan coins and the coinage and the material. We went into the deep analysis of the constituents of the freaking coins in order to get the different elephants, for instance, because Hannibal Barca used a different elephant. All the other elephants were from Africa, but his elephant was from India. We know that he has a different elephant. Anyways, you compare them and then you make your mind. Who is right, who is wrong, entirely up to you. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, with that, did black people build, where is it? I'll have to reopen it. I'm going to reopen it, sorry. But let's have a look at these articles. They claim black people built. And I am not someone who is afraid of the backlash for answering a question. There is no question that should ever be shamed. History book prompted. Let's have a look at Daily Mail. Not that I particularly like the Daily Mail, but let's see what they say. So do keep in mind that the Daily Mail tends to be biased. But with that out of the way. Or they're actually using woke. Now woke history book promoted to school classes. Goodness gracious. Claims Stone Age was built by black people. B should be capital, just like W and Y should be capital anyways. While Waterloo and Trafalgar go untaught. Teaching resources promoted to schools claims that Stone Age was built by black people, and the Roman Emperor Nero married a trans woman. Oh yeah, well this part, of course, is, yeah, I've already discussed this also when it comes to Elagabalus. Yeah, Elagabalus. First, Elagabalus, just like the Queen of Sweden. There is a Queen of Sweden that they say was transgender. Neither Elagabalus nor this Queen of Sweden were transgender. It doesn't make sense to say it. And the cool thing that I did, because I knew that people would have called me transphobic due to this statement, I actually said that on a dedicated video, and then I found a transgender historian who agrees with me, took a clip and put it on my video. Now tell me that what I said is transphobic, because if you think that, then you're just calling a transgender person transphobic. Not just me saying that, according to whatever. Pro-transgender teaching materials, but I don't care about the transgender part. Yeah, unfortunately, this looks like very political though, and I didn't think, I'm already seeing like woke this, woke that, and Black Lives Matter, George Floyd. This has nothing to do. I just wanted to know the Stone Age, right? The prestigious center-right unit found that George Floyd's death, again, no. Former history teacher and chairman of Campaigns for Real Education, Chris McGovern, said it was clear that the subject had been captured by the left. Oh gosh, this is so political. I don't care. I wanted to see British history. Okay, here. The report added that some resources, such as the book Brilliant Black British History, push contested narratives, open quotes, close quotes, such as black people building Stonehenge. I don't know why. Did I say Stone Age up to this point? Chairman said this. The book is marketed as, open quotes, a must-have in any school library, close quote, but its claim that early black Britons built the world-famous Neolithic stone circle is, open quotes, hotly contested and outside mainstream historical thinking, close quotes, yet presented as fact, according to the think tank. All right, of course, we're not going to just read this, because I want to read from different positions and different sources. In fact, do you know, is the Daily Mail, because the way this is, it's funny because at one point I asked, do you guys think that, what kind of political bias do you think the Daily Mail has? And I've had people telling me all sorts of things. So what do you guys think? What is the political bias of the Daily Mail? Let me know. So, what do they base it on? That's what I'm interested in, the evidence. This is Elagabalus, by the way. That's a statue of Elagabalus. Great. A history book promoted to schools claims the Stonehenge was built by black people. A policy exchange investigation found. All right. While in some cases these initiatives have a positive effect, such as exposing pupils to, open quotes, wider world history, close quotes, the report flagged serious concerns about replacing facts with biased narratives. Look, you know my position. Any narrative that is biased and it comes from a political message and enters schools is dangerous. I don't even care what side. It's dangerous because that's what happens, for instance, in the 20th century regimes. Look at the Germans in 1940s. I'm sorry I have to say Germans, but I cannot say the Nazi word or this is going to get demonetized. That's what they did. Same in Italy. That's what they did. It starts in school. Why does it start in school? Propaganda is a very powerful medium, and it can be used on all people in society. But when you use it to children, then the children are the people that suffer the most within society, because they haven't still completely, of course, developed the prefrontal cortex, their ability to distinguish something that is false objectively and something is true is really, it's not there yet. It's not fully formed. And so, of course, when you tell them something is true, then they'll believe it. And it's something that is being taught, and I say that as an educator, former educator, is you teach something to a child and it was wrong. And I know we have all gone through this, by the way. Something we were told, we were very young, they told us something and then it happens to be false. And you're like, really? That was false? You believed it because you were either, maybe your parents told you they were wrong, maybe your teacher told you they were wrong. I mean, look at the idea of plate armor is so heavy that you need a crane to lift the knight and put it on top of the horse. This is something I heard my history teacher say in middle school. This isn't something that was said by someone who didn't know anything. Well, yes, it was. I was told by a teacher. It was wrong. But did you have any way in middle school when you're 12 to think, I don't know if that makes sense, honestly. Maybe you could ask your dad, I guess, but it's difficult. And the younger you are, the more easily subject to the power of propaganda you could be. So once the message is established in your head, it's not easy to remove it. It can be removed, but it's not easy. And that's why what is taught in school is very important. What are you teaching these kids? That's what happens. I mean, yesterday, I read a little bit of the book Propaganda by Bernays, Edward Bernays, Freud's nephew. And it's a real thing. It happens. And so that's why I feel that we really need to look very closely on what is being taught to our children in school. Because otherwise, what propaganda does is that the children are fed the propaganda, the adults die, and they get breeded out. Now, in the previous nucleus, you had adults that agreed with your political ideas and adults that disagreed with your political ideas. Once these die out and the children have been indoctrinated, now you have a new pool, and this pool agrees with you. It's as simple as that. That's how it works. It's how consensus is fabricated. Social engineering. Too many cases, this process has gone too far, leading to the teaching of radical and contested interpretation of the past as fact, or with anecdotes of interesting lives, replacing a deeper understanding of the core drivers of history. One resource from the Classical Association's Queering of the Past. I'm not here to discuss this right now. I don't want to talk about gender in classical antiquity. To be honest, I've already spoken about this. I want to know about the Stonehenge. Data also shows 83% said they had either decolonized or diversified the history teaching. Okay, and that's it. Okay, horrible article then. They didn't say anything. Holy moly, how do you even call this an article? Ooh, we're gonna read the BBC. Because usually the BBC pushes this kind of ideas. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth. Stonehenge DNA reveals origins of builders. So are they pro? Are they pushing it? That's what I would expect. The ancestors of the people who built Stonehenge traveled west across the Mediterranean before reaching Britain, a study has shown. Researchers compared DNA extracted from Neolithic human remains found across Britain with that of people alive at the same time in Europe. Already you need to tell me the pool, because if the pool is very small, then it's not representative to the population, the entirety of the settled populations, but just to say, the Neolithic inhabitants were descended from populations originating in Anatolia, modern Turkey, splendid, so like Fertile Crescent. Already that would make me think Semitic, but let's see. That moved to Iberia before heading north. They reached Britain in about 4000 BC. Details have been published in the Journal of Nature, Ecology and Evolution. We might check this one. The migration to Britain was just one part of a general massive expansion of people out of Anatolia in 6000 BC that introduced farming to Europe. Before that, Europe was populated by small traveling groups which hunted animals and gathered wild plants and shellfish. One group of early farmers followed the river Danube up into Central Europe, but another group traveled west across the Mediterranean. DNA reveals that Neolithic Britons were largely descended from groups who took the Mediterranean route, either hugging the coast or hopping from island to island on boats. Some British groups had a minor account of ancestry from groups that followed the Danube route. Okay, so we are talking minor. This is key. And you know why I'm focusing on this? Because population replacement is very rare. Complete population replacement. Population mixing happens. Populations whereby there is a new ruling elite happens in history quite a lot. But the complete misplacement of an entire people from a large expanse of land, all of them are either completely exterminated or completely relocated. And now an entire new people takes their place. It happens, but it's very rare. And a lot of the times, this is what people that push this kind of ideas, whether it be Afrocentrism or Afrocentricity, as they want me to call it, whether it be Afrocentricity or whether it be other fringe ideas, they do base this on it. And I watched a video, I wish I had it here prepared, but I might look for it. But I've watched a video that said that the ancient Romans were black, but then at one point, the entirety of the civilization, but then at one point, migrants from the Caucasus, so Caucasians and whites, entered Italy, kicked everyone out, and replaced them. That's what they say. This is impossible to justify, because in order for that to happen, it would mean that you would have to literally exterminate everyone. And this was something that, you know, was tried by the Austrian painter and the Austrian painter fan club in Germany. They tried to focus that and they failed. They tried to do it with gypsies, they tried to do it with Roma, they tried to do it with people with disabilities, they tried to do it with Jews, and they still failed to completely eradicate. And they used modern technology, I mean not vintage for us, but modern for them. So imagine doing that in the classical period or in the Bronze Age. Now, the reality is that whenever there is a moving of people, like for instance, when the Anglo-Saxons, the Angles and the Saxons reach Britain, it's not that they completely annihilate all of the Brittonic that were living there, a Celtic population, by the way. They intermingled, they mixed, there was some connection and some interlocking in the social fabric. So yes, ruling elite, some tribes, some villages would have been predominantly Anglo-Saxons, other areas would have been with a ruling elite that belongs to a population, to a people, and then the ruled belonged to another people. This happened, for example, with the Normans and the Anglo-Saxons after 1066. It's not like the Normans arrived with the Dutch in Normandy and now all of the Anglo-Saxons are annihilated. No, if you're a modern English person, it is very likely that you have a strong connection to the Anglo-Saxons because they weren't completely annihilated. Likewise, when the migration happened, then the Anglo-Saxons, warriors and tribes, reach Britain, they didn't completely annihilate the Brittonic element. There was an intermingling in the fabric. So even if this minor amount of ancestry that is coming through the Danube reached Britain, they didn't replace the original inhabitants there. Most likely they either lived in separate communalities and separate settlements, or maybe there was intermingling, or maybe there was stratification and within the social strata. And I'm not making this up. This is what happens when you see the relocation patterns and how population and settlements, particularly in this period, occurred. And this is an important element to consider before we see what they are trying to push. When the researchers analyzed the DNA of early British farmers, they found they most closely resembled Neolithic people from Iberia, modern Spain and Portugal. Okay? These Iberian farmers were descended from people who had journeyed across the Mediterranean from Iberia, or somewhere close. The Mediterranean farmers traveled north through France. They might have entered Britain from the west through Wales or southwest England. Indeed, radiocarbon dates, careful because Dr. Hawass is not going to like this sentence, suggest that Neolithic people arrived marginally earlier in the west, but this remains a topic for future work. Okay, in addition to farming, the Neolithic migrants to, I think they use this term on purpose, and I say as an immigrant, by the way, but I know BBC well, to Britain appear to have introduced the tradition of building monuments using large stones known as megalithics. And this would be very interesting if it's true, and I hope they provide the basis, the foundational basis on this statement, and if it's true, I'll say thank you for teaching me something interesting. Stonehenge in Wiltshire was part of this tradition. Although Britain was inhabited by groups of Western hunter-gatherers, for some reasons, in quotes, when the farmers arrived in about 4000 BC, DNA shows that the two groups did not mix very much at all. Great, so they lived in separate communities, fine. So they both exist though. The British hunter-gatherers were almost completely replaced by the Neolithic farmers, and that is the statement that I already find difficult to believe. I might have to dig deep with the team and have a look at this statement, because as I say, apart from one group in Western Scotland where the Neolithic inhabitants had elevated local ancestry, this could have come down to the farmer groups simply having greater numbers. Right. We don't find any detectable evidence at all for the local British Western hunter-gatherers' ancestry in the Neolithic farmers after they arrive, said co-author Dr. Tom Booth, a specialist in ancient DNA from the Natural History Museum in London. That doesn't mean they don't mix at all, it just means that maybe their population sizes were too small to have left any kind of genetic legacy. Co-author Professor Mark Thomas from UCL said he also favored a number of game explanation. Professor Thomas said that the Neolithic farmers had probably had to adapt their practices to different climatic conditions as they moved across Europe, but by the time they reached Britain, they were already tooled up and well prepared for growing crops in northwest European climate. Study also analyzes DNA from the British hunter-gatherers. One of the skeletons analyzed was that of Cheddar Man. This one was big area of contention, isn't it? Recently, the Cheddar Man. I remember reading a little bit about it. I was even thinking of making a video about it, but then I forgot about it. Whose skeletal remains have been dated to 7100 BC. He was the subject of a reconstruction unveiled at the Natural History Museum last year. DNA suggests that, like most other European hunter-gatherers of the time, he had dark skin combined with blue eyes. Still, that doesn't necessarily connect to the idea that he was black, though. So I would like to know how they then say, because dark skin doesn't automatically mean black, at least in the way we use the word today. So I think what I would do at this point, in order to avoid any possible manipulation of the public through linguistics and semantics, I would say let's first determine what you mean by black. Are we using the ancient terminology, so the way the Greeks and the Romans mentioned the Ethiopians, but in reality they mean everyone who would today be considered black in the African sense? What do you mean by black? I would really want to know. And the reason why I'm asking this is because even the term white is highly contested. It's not just a matter of black. Let me in fact establish my point before we continue. The term white, even today, is contested. We don't even need to go 200 years in the past and see what Benjamin Franklin thought of the term white, and if we did, we would find out that neither Scandinavians nor Irish nor Italians will be white, not even French will be white. I wouldn't be white. An Irishman who is as white as my freaking headphones wouldn't be considered white. So only, I would say, Anglo-Saxon, Western, English heritage would be considered white, and a little bit of Germanic, and that would be it. Spanish people wouldn't be white, so that's the Benjamin Franklin idea, and some people in America cling to that idea even today. But the thing is that it really depends on perspective. In fact, it's very easy. I'm going to ask the question now, am I white? And then you'll see people in the chat will give different answers. So if you're black, you will say, yes, you're white. I can tell you that 100%. If you're black and you're watching this, you'll call me white. No one in his right mind who is black will call me anything but white. People who are from Europe, it will depend, because generally, at least in Italian, and I imagine in Spanish too, we have an expression, l'uomo bianco, the white man. What we mean by that in Europe is European people. European. Southern, Northern, Western, European. Okay? We're all white, from that point of view, from the perspective of European. Why? Because we mostly base it on the skin color. If your skin color is like this, you're white. Now, people in America today kind of depends. Some will say, no, you're not white, you're Italian, which is kind of silly because white is used for ethnicity. Italian is nationality. So there is a little bit of a weird overlap there. But yeah, some people will say you're not white, some people will say you're white. And so the point I'm trying to draw is not who's got the right terminology here on who's white and who's not. At the end of the day, you choose to use that nomenclature wherever you want. I'm saying it's debatable. Now, if white is debatable, even more so black will be debatable. Why? Because Africa has a higher percentage of phenotypic variance within phenotypic traits in their population clusters. In other words, yes, in Europe, maybe a bit more evident. Some people have red hair, some people blue eyes, green eyes, black hair, black eyes. Great. In Africa, there is more phenotypic variance. So if you don't want to use the term white because you think there is too much difference, then you should stop using the term black right now. From a scientific sense, from a linguistic sense, and from a phenotypic, so biological sense. If we don't establish first what do we mean by black, we cannot have a discussion on whether or not these early people, these early populations were black or not. And I hope that you know that I'm trying to establish this clearly, and I don't think they're doing this. And this is very typical. It's a manipulative attempt to use a word before you define its meaning so you can twist it. It was the subject of a reconstruction unveiled at the Natural History Museum last year. DNA suggests that, like most other European hunter-gatherers of the time, yeah, we read this. Genetic analysis shows that the Neolithic farmers, by contrast, were paler skinned with brown eyes and black or dark brown hair. Okay, great. So doesn't this already kind of debunk their own position? Towards the end of the Neolithic, in about 2450 BC, the descendants of the first farmers were themselves almost entirely replaced when a new population called the Bell-Beaker people migrated from mainland Europe. So Britain saw two extreme genetic shifts in the space of a few thousand years. Professor Thomas said that this later event happened after the Neolithic population had been in decline for some time, both in Britain and across Europe. He cautioned against simplistic explanations invoking conflict and said the shift ultimately came down to economic factors about which lifestyle were best suited to exploit the landscape. And that's the end. Dr. Booth explained, open quotes, it's difficult to see whether the two genetic shifts could have anything in common. They are two very different kinds of change. There is speculation that they are, to some extent, population collapses, but the reasons suggested for those two collapses are different, so it could be just coincidence, close quote. Now, my question is, okay, I enjoyed reading it. It's very fun. I think they self-debunked themselves, but that could be just me, since at the end of the day, it's just a cursory reading. I do not understand what that has to do with this. They didn't provide any evidence that this was built by those whom we would identify as black people today. So I don't know what that one was based on. I'll have to review the DNA. This was just a cursory glance at this discussion. Probably make a dedicated video